The vast emptiness of space seemed to swallow Princess Hannah Kim whole. Her starship, once a magnificent vessel of the Keldor Empire, now drifted like a wounded animal, its systems barely holding together. Sparks erupted from damaged control, panels casting flickering shadows across her weary face. Hannah remembered everything. The sudden attack, the screams, the destruction of her entire civilization in a matter of hours. The Void Raiders had been merciless, striking with a precision that suggested they knew exactly how to dismantle her people's defenses. Her family, her parents, her younger brothers, were gone. She was the last. The ship's emergency systems hummed weakly. Red warning lights blinked continuously, a silent reminder of the ship's critical condition. Oxygen recyclers worked at minimum capacity, each breath feeling like a small victory against the encroaching darkness. Hannah's hands moved across the damaged control panel. Running diagnostics she already knew were hopeless. Her communication systems were completely destroyed. No distress signal could be sent. No rescue was possible. The nearest friendly star system was light years away, and her ship's propulsion was at less than 12% capacity. Mathematical calculations played in her mind. She had approximately 72 hours of life support remaining. Outside the viewport, debris from her destroyed homeworld floated silently. Fragments of buildings, ships, and memories drifted without purpose. Each piece told a story of loss, of a civilization erased in moments. Hannah touched the cold glass, her reflection a ghost of the proud princess she once was. The Void Raiders had been systematic. They weren't random pirates or opportunistic attackers. Their assault showed a calculated plan to completely eliminate the Keldor civilization. They knew exactly which communication networks to disable, which defensive systems to target. It was as if they had studied her people for years, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Hannah checked her personal datapad. The last messages from her family played silently. Her mother's final words of courage, her father's desperate instructions to survive. "You are the hope," her mother had said. But hope felt like a distant memory now. The ship's temperature was dropping. External sensors showed multiple hull breaches, each one slowly bleeding away what little atmosphere remained. Hannah wrapped herself in a thermal blanket, a small protection against the growing cold. She thought about recording a final message, but who would ever hear it? Her training as a royal navigator kicked in. She began systematically shutting down non-essential systems, trying to conserve the last bits of energy. Each movement was calculated, each decision made with the precision of someone who knew death was close, but refused to surrender completely. Memories flooded her mind. The beautiful crystal cities of her homeworld, the vast academic centers where her people had studied the universe for millennia, the rich cultural traditions that would now exist only in her memory, an entire civilization reduced to nothing more than floating space debris. The ship's computer made a soft beeping sound, a warning about critical system failure. Hannah closed her eyes. She had hours, perhaps less. The vast universe that had once seemed full of possibility now felt like a cold, empty tomb. She didn't cry. Keldor royalty did not show weakness, even in their final moments. Instead, she sat straight, her posture regal, her spirit unbroken. If these were to be her last hours, she would face them with the dignity of her people. A small alarm chirped. Another system failing, another countdown to the end. Hannah looked out into the darkness, wondering if anyone would ever know what happened to her people. Would their story be forgotten? Would the Void Raiders continue their path of destruction? Thou Sci. Ship shuddered. Something was changing. But in this moment, surrounded by the remnants of her destroyed civilization, Princess Hannah Kim saw only darkness and heard only the mechanical whispers of a dying ship. Little did she know, light years away, a human fleet was watching and preparing to change everything. The surveillance room aboard the human reconnaissance vessel Horizon was a study in controlled silence. Captain J. Park stood motionless, his eyes fixed on the holographic display that showed the damaged Keldor ship drifting through a remote sector of space. Surrounding him, a team of expert analysts worked with calculated precision, their fingers dancing across advanced computer interfaces. Commander Yoon Lee approached, her tablet displaying complex data streams. "Sir," she said quietly, "we've tracked the vessel's trajectory for the past 6 hours. The Void Raiders are closing in." Park didn't respond immediately. His eyes continued to study the holographic projection, a three-dimensional representation of the ongoing space drama. The Keldor ship was critically damaged, its energy signatures weak and fragmented. Years of specialized training had taught Park to read between the lines of sensor data. The Horizon wasn't a typical military vessel. It was part of a classified deep space reconnaissance unit, a group so secretive that even most high-ranking military officials didn't know of its existence. Their mission wasn't simple exploration or standard patrol. They watched, they analyzed, they waited. "Calculate probable encounter time," Park instructed his navigation specialist, a young woman named Kim Soo-jin. Her fingers moved with lightning, speed running complex algorithms that considered stellar drift, ship velocities, and potential intervention windows. 17 minutes, she responded. Her voice was calm, almost detached. The room's atmosphere was thick with unspoken tension. Every crew member understood the potential consequences of their next decision. Intervention meant breaking multiple international space protocols. Non-intervention meant watching an entire civilization's last representative die. Park remembered the briefings about the Keldor civilization, advanced, peaceful, technologically sophisticated. Their sudden destruction by the Void Raiders had been a calculated genocide that seemed to follow a disturbing pattern they had observed in multiple star systems. Commander Lee spoke again, her voice carrying a hint of challenge. "Regulations are clear. We cannot directly engage." Park's response was measured. Regulations were written by people who never watched civilizations die. The holographic display continued its silent dance of data points and potential trajectories. Each second brought the Void Raiders closer to the damaged Keldor ship. Each moment reduced the possibility of survival. The crew of the Horizon knew they were watching something significant. This wasn't just about saving one ship or one princess. This was about understanding a larger pattern of galactic conflict that most humans knew nothing about. Park's fingers touched a series of hidden control sequences. Quantum stealth systems began powering up. Technology so advanced, it could bend light and sensor waves around the ship, making it essentially invisible to any standard tracking method. "Prepare intervention protocols," he said softly. The words were simple, but they carried the weight of a potentially civilization-changing decision. Around him, the crew moved with practiced efficiency. Navigation calculated approach vectors. Weapon systems, unlike anything seen in standard military arsenals, began to warm up. Communication specialists prepared encrypted channels that could transmit information without revealing their true origin. The ship's artificial intelligence, a complex system named Aria, began running potential scenario calculations. Billions of potential outcomes were analyzed in microseconds. Each calculation showed the same conclusion. Intervention was risky, but necessary. Outside the ship's reinforced windows, space remained a canvas of infinite darkness. Stars continued their silent watch, indifferent to the drama unfolding between small, insignificant vessels. Park knew they were about to cross a line. Not just a military line, but a philosophical one. They were preparing to save a civilization's last hope based on nothing more than a calculated assessment and a deeply held belief in potential. "Final systems check," he commanded. The crew responded. In perfect synchronization, each system confirmed, each protocol ready. The Horizon prepared to become more than just a silent guardian. It was about to become an unexpected savior. In the cold silence of deep space, something extraordinary was about to happen. The moment stretched like an elastic band about to snap. Princess Hannah Kim closed her eyes, feeling the final systems of her ship preparing to fail. The Void Raiders' vessels surrounded her, their weapon systems glowing with deadly anticipation. Suddenly, space itself seemed to ripple. Something impossible happened. Ships materialized from nowhere, sleek, sharp-edged vessels that didn't match any known design in galactic records. They moved with a precision that defied traditional space. Combat strategies, no warning, no communication, just pure calculated intervention. The first Void Raider exploded before its crew could comprehend what was happening. A single pulse of energy, clean, precise, without unnecessary destruction, transformed the massive attack vessel into expanding debris. The second ship tried to maneuver, but invisible targeting systems tracked its every movement. Hannah watched in disbelief. These weren't random attacks. Each strike was surgical. Each movement calculated to minimize collateral damage. The mysterious ships moved like liquid metal through space, anticipating enemy movements before they could be executed. Within 3 minutes, 8 Void Raider ships had been completely neutralized. No survivors. No excessive damage to surrounding space. It was like watching a perfect mathematical equation being solved. Her damaged ship's sensors struggled to understand what was happening. Unknown energy signatures, impossible movement patterns, technology that seemed to bend the very rules of physics. A communication channel opened. No visual, just a simple audio transmission. Vessel identified. Structural integrity compromised. Preparing emergency extraction. The voice was calm, almost bored, as if destroying 8 advanced combat vessels was nothing more than a routine task. Hannah felt a strange sensation, a tractor beam unlike any technology she had ever experienced. Her ship didn't just get pulled, it was gently guided, almost like a parent carrying a sleeping child. Complex repair nanites began automatically fixing hull breaches, restoring basic systems. The mysterious rescue vessels maintained perfect formation around her damaged ship. No excessive communication, no dramatic speeches, just pure, efficient intervention. Her personal medical scanner began analyzing her physical condition. Automated systems detected her royal genetic markers, her current health status, potential trauma responses. Something was collecting information, but with a level of respect that felt almost gentle. Another communication came through. Different voice, still calm, still professional. Biological entity identified as Royal-class Keldor survivor. Emergency medical protocols activated. Prepare for transfer. Hannah wanted to ask questions. Who were these beings? What civilization could possess such advanced technology? But her training kept her silent. Royalty did not show fear. Royalty observed and understood. The transfer process was unlike anything she had experienced. No violent movements, no harsh transitions. One moment she was in her damaged ship. The next she stood in a clean white medical bay that seemed to anticipate her every potential need. Her rescuers remained invisible. Advanced holographic systems surrounded her, providing medical assessment, environmental comfort, nutritional analysis. Everything felt designed not just for survival but for minimal psychological stress. A small panel displayed basic information. No names, no personal details. Just clinical, precise data about her current condition and the intervention that had just occurred. Outside the medical bay's advanced windows, space continued its silent dance. The destroyed Void Raider vessels had become nothing more than distant, expanding clouds of debris. No evidence remained of the extraordinary battle that had just occurred. Hannah realized something profound. She was alive, not just alive, but rescued by a civilization that could have remained completely hidden. A civilization that chose to intervene with zero expectation of recognition or reward. The medical bay's soft ambient lighting seemed to pulse with a gentle, reassuring rhythm. Everything felt controlled. Everything felt intentional. Her last thought, before allowing herself to rest. Who were these mysterious beings that had just saved her life? Little did she know, her rescue was just the beginning of an extraordinary story. The room was white, not a harsh, clinical white, but a soft, almost living white that seemed to breathe with subtle changes in light. Hannah sat on a chair that adjusted perfectly to her body, understanding her physical needs, before she even recognized them herself. Captain J. Park entered the room. No dramatic entrance, no fanfare, just a simple, controlled movement that suggested years of disciplined training. "You are safe," he said. The words were simple, direct, no unnecessary emotions. Hannah studied him carefully. Humans were a civilization she knew little about. Rumors, historical fragments, nothing concrete. He wore a uniform that seemed both military and something entirely different. Functional, but with subtle technological integrations that suggested systems far beyond traditional clothing. Your civilization, Park continued, was targeted systematically. We have been monitoring the Void Raiders pattern for several solar cycles. A holographic display materialized between them. Star systems, complex tracking lines, detailed information about civilizations that had been destroyed. The Keldor civilization was just one entry in a massive, complex database. We do not involve ourselves randomly, Park explained. His fingers touched the holographic display, expanding certain sections. We protect potential civilizations with developmental capacity. Hannah understood the subtext. They hadn't saved her out of pure compassion. They had saved her because her people represented something valuable to the broader galactic ecosystem. Advanced translation systems worked seamlessly. No awkward pauses, no misunderstandings. Each word converted perfectly, maintaining linguistic nuance and cultural context. How many? Hannah asked, a simple question that carried significant weight. Park's response was equally direct. 17 civilizations monitored, 3 directly rescued. Yours is the 4th. The holographic display shifted. Images of different alien species appeared. Some she recognized, many she did not. Each represented a civilization that had been watched, studied, potentially saved. The room itself seemed alive with information. Subtle data streams flowed across surfaces. Environmental systems adjusted microscopic conditions, temperature, humidity, atmospheric composition, to create perfect comfort for a Keldor royal. We are not conquerors, Park said, reading her unspoken questions. We are observers, protectors of potential evolutionary paths. Hannah realized something profound. These humans were not traditional rescuers. They were strategic guardians of galactic development, each intervention calculated, each decision based on complex long-term assessments. A small drone-like device approached her, scanning her biological systems. Not invasively, but with a precision that felt almost respectful. Medical nanites worked silently, repairing cellular damage from her traumatic experience. Your people's academic database, Park mentioned, will be preserved, not just as historical record, as potential future knowledge. The implications were significant. Her entire civilization's knowledge, scientific, cultural, philosophical, would continue to exist, not as a museum piece, but as a living, potential resource. What happens now? Hannah asked. Park's response was unexpected. You choose. We offer options, not demands. The holographic display showed multiple potential scenarios: refugee relocation, technology transfer, gradual civilization reconstruction. Each path laid out with mathematical precision, but with a subtle understanding of biological and cultural complexity. Hannah understood then that this was more than a rescue. This was an invitation, an opportunity to rebuild, not through pity, but through strategic collaboration. The room's ambient lighting pulsed softly. Outside the advanced windows, stars continued their silent journey. Somewhere in the vast darkness, the remnants of her civilization drifted. But here, in this moment, hope felt possible again. We have been watching, Park said finally. Now, we are listening. And in that simple statement, everything changed. 3 years had passed since Hannah's rescue. The human vessel Horizon had become more than a ship. It was a mobile reconstruction center for the Keldor civilization. Advanced terraforming technologies transformed a previously uninhabited planet into a new home. Automated systems worked continuously, rebuilding what the Void Raiders had destroyed. Not just buildings, but entire ecological systems. Hannah discovered that human intervention wasn't about direct control. It was about providing opportunities. Advanced agricultural nanites restored soil conditions. Communication networks were rebuilt using technologies that seemed to anticipate potential problems before they could occur. Surviving Keldor colonists began arriving in carefully managed groups. Each transport carried not just people, but stored genetic and cultural databases. The humans ensured that nothing of their civilization would be lost. Captain J. Park rarely showed direct involvement. His team worked behind the scenes, creating infrastructure, protecting development corridors, ensuring no external threats could interrupt the rebuilding process. The first city rose from nothing, clean, efficient, designed with a perfect balance between Keldor cultural aesthetics and advanced technological integration, solar collection systems that looked like artistic sculptures, transportation networks that moved like living organisms. Hannah worked closely with human reconstruction specialists. They didn't see her as a princess to be protected, but as a strategic partner in civilization reconstruction. Each decision was collaborative, each plan meticulously calculated. Genetic preservation teams had saved genetic samples from multiple Keldor families. Reproduction programs were carefully designed to maintain genetic diversity. Advanced medical technologies ensured that genetic diseases could be eliminated, giving the new generation better survival chances. Educational systems were rebuilt using a combination of preserved Keldor knowledge and human technological frameworks. Young Keldor learned not just about their past, but were prepared for potential future challenges. Quantum communication networks allowed limited but secure connections with other potential refugee colonies. The humans had created a protection grid that would allow the Keldor civilization to communicate and potentially reunite without exposing themselves to external threats. Interesting technological exchanges happened. Keldor scientific knowledge complemented human strategic thinking. Small innovations emerged from this collaboration. Energy systems that were more efficient, medical technologies that pushed previous boundaries. Park's team maintained a careful distance. They provided tools, protection, opportunities. But they never directly controlled. Their philosophy was clear: provide the framework, let the civilization grow naturally. Research teams discovered why the Void Raiders had targeted the Keldor civilization. Complex geological resources, unique scientific research potential. The humans ensured these vulnerabilities would not be repeated in the new settlement. Hannah realized that rescue was more than survival. It was about creating potential. The humans saw civilizations not as static entities, but as evolving systems with potential for growth and contribution. The new Keldor settlement began to thrive. Population growth was carefully managed. Educational systems produced innovative thinkers. Agricultural systems became models of sustainable development. Quantum stealth technologies protected the new colony. Sensor grids monitored potential threats from multiple star systems. The humans had created an invisible shield that would allow the Keldor to rebuild without fear. Cultural preservation teams worked to ensure that Keldor traditions weren't just remembered, but lived. Traditional ceremonies were integrated with new technological possibilities. Ancient music found new expressions through advanced sound technologies. Park visited occasionally, not as a leader but as an observer. Each visit was brief, a few hours of quiet assessment, ensuring everything developed according to projected potential. Hannah understood now what rescue truly meant. It wasn't about saving a civilization. It was about creating an opportunity for that civilization to save itself. As the planet's twin suns set, casting golden light across the new Keldor cities, something remarkable became clear. A civilization thought destroyed had found a path to rebirth, and somewhere in the vast darkness of space, silent guardianships continued their endless watch.